these are my bikes. The end. Lockdown hair is in full effect. I feel like I'm back at school now with my emo fringe. Well then, I know you're meant to do a bike check when you first get a bike, and you're meant to do a bike review like a couple of months after you get it, but I've always been a bit slow at doing things, so you're getting both 10 months after I got the bikes. So these are Jitsie Varials. Jitsie do two different bikes. They do the Jitsie Varial, then the Jitsie Varial Race, which is like got a few bells and whistles on, but this is just like the standard base model, and they retail for like £900,000 ish, which is actually a mega price when you compare it to other brands like top end bikes like Krukers, which is like double that, or even a Clean Carbon, which is like 3 times that. The price and quality of these is pretty insane. Now, I'm not saying that the Krukers and Clean aren't worth it. They're really good, and they've got some like amazing technology on them and amazing parts, but unless you're riding 24/7 at like the insane level that Jack Carthy rides at, the bike isn't going to make that much of a huge difference. As long as you get your nice setup and it's fairly light, then that's what matters. And considering I haven't been Jack Carthy since he was about 13 years old, I really don't think a bike's going to make that much of a difference. Yep, I've got 2 bikes. People always ask me why I've got 2 bikes. Well, one, like I mentioned earlier, the price of the bike is pretty cheap, so if you can, you might as well get double. But the main reason is, because in a normal year, I'd be doing a lot of competitions, lots of shows and lots of coaching. And it's so much easier having a spare bike than lugging around parts, because you never have the part that you break. I guarantee you, whatever part you break in the middle of a competition, you won't have it. An example of that is a couple of years ago at the World Championships, the very first section, I smashed my back wheel completely in that. It wasn't salvageable, not one part of it was fixable, and I didn't have a spare wheel completely, didn't have a spare bike, so I went around the whole trial scrounging for a wheel, found someone to give me a wheel, it didn't fit, ended up trying to make it work, didn't work, ended up having to borrow someone else's bike for the whole trial, which wasn't ideal for a World Championship event. When you're at a competition, you break something, it's so much easier just to swap parts straight over, or even just jump on another bike if you can. It saves you trying to bodge things and fix things in the middle of a cold wet field. Same goes for shows. If I'm doing a 20-minute show, I can't break something halfway through and then like tell the crowd, oh hold on, I've got to go fix this, come back in 5 minutes. It's easy, just put the bike down, jump on a spare one, and the show can keep going on. So my bikes are fairly similar. The only difference is one of them's got a front rim brake and one's got a front disc brake. The disc brake is really good for shows. It's a bit quieter, you can do a few like stoppies and cool tricks and stuff. It's also good for coaching. So when I'm trying to coach with like slow speed stuff, it's a lot easier to show them like slowing down and stoppies with a front disc brake than it is trying to show them with a front rim brake. A front rim brake is by far more powerful, I think anyway, and yeah, a lot more reliable to me. So for competition, I'm always going to stick with a front rim brake. So bike check time. I'll go through what I call my number 1 bike, my competition bike, which is the front rim brake version. So we've got the standard Jitsie frame, forks, cranks, bottom bracket and front and rear wheels. Yeah, had no reason to change those, so left them as they are. I stuck a Comas bar and stem on it because the standard one just didn't feel that comfortable to me. I wanted a lower stem and slightly high-rise bar, just so it felt a bit more comfortable to me. It meant I wasn't feeling it as cramped. So I've gone for Echo pedals. For some reason the Jitsie bikes come with a set of plastic pedals that have lights on them. I'm not sure why really. But I've been using the Echo pedals for a while. They're a bit wider than a lot of models, and when you've got size 12-13 feet, you need as much help as you can get really. So on this bike I've got Coast pads in the rear. Again, they're the best brake pad around. I think anyone who uses them will always stick with them. I've got TNN greens in the front. Been using those for years. I find on the front, brake pads don't matter as much, so you'll get kind of lesser quality brake pads and they'll still work really well. But the green T&Ns got to work really well and they've lasted forever. I've got Trial Tech brake levers. They come with your standard Magura ones on this model. Yeah, and I can't get on one of those at all. Pretty much any Magura brake lever I break anyway, so I always change them. The Trial Tech ones, yeah, always feel great, great leverage. Can run Trial Tech fluid or water in them fine. Yeah, they just work, hang on really. So the last thing I changed was sticking Monty Pro Race tyres on. I just think they're the best tyre around. So the Jitsie tyres are good, but to me they're not quite as stable and don't feel quite the same as the Monty ones, and I felt instantly comfortable with the Monty ones, so I was going to try and stick those on. Onto the number 2 bike. It's pretty much the same, except it's got a Shimano front disc brake on it. It works alright, but I don't ride it enough to probably bed it in. So I'll get it bedded in a certain amount, then I'll put it in the garage for a while, then I'll get a little bit contaminated, and then I need to keep bedding it in again. But yeah, in terms of lever feel, yeah, it feels great. Yeah, it feels comfortable. I'm sure if I do start using it a bit more regular, it'll come up and yeah, feel really good. So yeah, all the rest of the parts are the same. Yeah, Echo pedals, Coos pads. Rest of the stuff is Jitsie, including I've got the Jitsie tyres on there, so I couldn't get 2 sets of Montys at the same time. And like I said, the Jitsie tyre is actually really good. It's just that I do prefer the Monty ones, but riding the Jitsie one on like the spare bike, yeah, they feel spot on really for the natural round street. Now comes the review portion of the show. Yeah, I'm really impressed. I say for something, I'm not going to say cheap, but cheaper than other top level models. Yeah, I've been really impressed with all the parts. So the reason I chose the Jitsie in the first place, obviously the price is pretty good, but I saw guys like Nico riding them, Hedge. I saw the Tang that is Brian Chris using one, and I thought, well, if it's good enough for those guys, it can survive those guys, yeah, I'll give one a try. And it was the closest bike around to the geometry I wanted. I knew I wanted kind of 1085, 1090 wheelbase with a plus 65, plus 70 BB, and this is kind of out of the box, it's 1085 plus 70, so it kind of fit what I want. Change the bars around because like the standard ones didn't feel comfortable to me. That's one thing about having 2 bikes. No matter how identical I get these set up, get a handlebar and stem set up, it feels different to me. So I can't swap between the 2 very quickly. They're both identical. Yet something in my head always tells me there's like, you know, a millimetre difference, and it just throws me completely. I've had no issue with the frame or forks. There's been no flex, there's no cracks, nothing to it really. Something that has impressed me on this bike are the wheels. They are bulletproof. Like I've ridden this bike for say near enough a year. I've ridden it on natural and street, did a lot more street this year. Yeah, and there's I think I've had the true to wheel once, and that was like 1 spoke for a tiny amount. The rest of it been brilliant, and they take a grind amazing. You don't have to make it that rough, and the brake will work perfectly. I've been really impressed with that. So coming from my old Echo, the big kind of letdown for me on that was the wheels. I was snapping spokes all the time, grinds were inconsistent, so I'm really impressed with the Jitsie wheels. So even if you don't want a Jitsie bike, I'd recommend getting a rear wheel at least, because they're really solid. The only problem I've had in this bike is chain tension and the chain tensioner. Now it's got snail cams, which I think we all know aren't the ideal setup, but usually you can kind of make do with them and they'll do the job fine. So no matter what I do in this, I'll get the chain tension nice and tight, then by the end of the ride the chain's really loose, really saggy, and yeah, it just doesn't hold the chain tension, so you end up kind of just giving up keeping it tight and just put up with a rattling chain, which isn't ideal. So that's the only real kind of downside to the bike really. So I've got no real kind of loyalty to Jitsie. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but yeah, I'm really impressed with the bikes. When they sent them out to me originally, they got here really quick, really easy to build up, and for the price of the bike, yeah, I don't think you're going to find anything near that kind of value around. Like I say, I think depending on kind of what shop, it's like £900, £1,000, and like I say, I've had this for a year now pretty much, and I've had no issues, so yeah, it's done me amazing. And I say, you know, if you can get a Krukers or a clean and you've got the money, go for it. They're awesome bikes. Like I say, the Krukas is like over 2 grand. The clean's nearly 3 grand. And if you're not a Jack Carthy, I don't think the difference in those bikes is going to make a huge amount of difference to your riding. So I think you kind of might as well save your money, get 2 Jitsies and have enough left over for a bag Haribo. So another quick little winter video there. If you've got any questions about my bike or my setup, then yeah, just comment below and I'll be happy to answer it. And I shall see you all next time.